Hi guys, I'm Angel, and I'm here to brief you about the first clips that is shown earlier in this video. As exactly as you have seen, it's about hot air balloons. And we're going to discuss in this video its origin, history, how it works, and its timeline. Hot air balloons was invented in 1783 by Joseph and Stephen Montgolfier. They built a hot air balloon out of paper which Pilatre de Rivera flew over Paris. Modern day hot air ballooning using a controlled propane burner and nylon fabric was invented in 1961 by Ed Yost at Raven Industries. So, in China, the first balloons was unmanned and used in China during the Three Kingdoms era, which is 220 to 280 AD. These lanterns were used for military signaling, and today we recognize them as traditional Chinese lanterns, but they were technically the first hot air balloons.
The first balloons were unmanned and used in China during the Three Kingdoms era. These lanterns were used for military signaling. Today we recognize them as traditional Chinese lanterns, but they were technically the first hot air balloon.
Generating lift. Increasing the air temperature inside the envelope makes it less dense than the surrounding air. The balloon floats because of the buoyant force exerted on it. This force is the same force that acts on objects when they are in water and is described by Archimedes' principle. The amount of lift, or buoyancy, provided by a hot air balloon depends primarily upon the difference between the temperature of the air inside the envelope and the temperature of the air outside the envelope. For most envelopes made of nylon fabric, the maximal internal temperature is limited to approximately 120 degrees Celsius to 250 Fahrenheit.
A brief history of hot air ballooning. Hot air ballooning has only been around for a little over 2 centuries, but it has a rich history filled with many important events. The history of ballooning is the history of flight because humans first achieved flight with balloons. For almost 150 years prior to the airplane, ballooning permeated many areas of human life and human achievement, from traveling, mapping, research, military, photography, and entertainment. This article will cover some of the main highlights from the history of hot air ballooning.
There are two types of balloons that are flown today, hot air balloons and gas balloons. The envelope is the part of the balloon that holds the hot air or gas. Hot air balloons fly as a result of a hotter air temperature inside the envelope than outside, while gas balloons fly using a lifting gas inside their envelopes. The gas pilots use will either be helium or hydrogen, with hydrogen being more common due to it being cheaper and more available than helium.
A brief history of ballooning. September 19, 1783, the first hot air balloon was launched by a French scientist named Pilatre de Rosier and was called Aerostat Rebellion. The balloon was carried 3 passengers, a rooster, a duck, and a sheep, and was only the air for 15 minutes before crashing back to the ground. On November 21, 1783, just 2 months later, two French brothers, Joseph and Einstein Montgolfier, attempt the first manned flight. They launched their balloon in Paris and flight lasts 20 minutes, breathing hot air ballooning. And in 1785, Jean Blanchard, a French balloonist, and Jean Ferrier, his American co-pilot, become the first people to ever fly a gas balloon across the English Channel. This marked one of the longest distance a balloon had ever flown and was a major step toward a long-distance balloon travel.
That same year, Pilatre de Rosier, the world's first balloonist, died while also trying to cross the English Channel. His balloon exploded shortly after taking off on account of his experimental design of using a hot air balloon and a hydrogen balloon tied together. On January 7, 1793, Jean-Pierre Blanchard becomes the first person to fly a hot air balloon in North America, with President George Washington watching the launch. For the first next 150 years, hot air ballooning was overtaken by gas ballooning, and the practice of flying via hot air balloon was all but abandoned. 1950s, a man named Ed House worked to revive hot air ballooning by engineering a redesigned fueling system that would allow balloons to fly for longer distance and become more maneuverable.
In October 22, 1960, Ed Yost launched the first hot air balloon flight in Benning, Nebraska, which lasted for 1 hour and 35 minutes. In 1972, Sid Carter organized a gathering of 13 balloons in Albuquerque, New Mexico. This event would go on to become the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, the largest balloon event in the world. In 1987, Richard Branson and Pearl Lindstrand became the first people in history to cross the Atlantic in a hot air balloon, flying 2,900 miles in 33 hours.
Branson and Lindstrand teamed to cross the Pacific in a hot air balloon. Their flight launched from Japan and traveled to Canada, flying 6,700 miles in 47 hours.